Hey everyone, welcome back. What is my hair doing? Wait. Welcome back everyone. Today we are continuing with a tradition that has been a presence on this channel for the past 2 seasons, which is reacting to the following season's trends. We take a look at what we like, we take a look at what we don't like, and try to dissect every single thing that's coming down that runway. I have talked extensively about this in the past. I am a person who will adopt trends that work for me. Maybe some of these trends will work for you and not for me, and maybe I will be a little catty about them. Don't take it personally, not everybody likes the same things, but if something that you see here works for you or you're curious to try, just try it. Even if it's not approved by moi, I think you should still experiment and see if it works for you. Now I have my computer here that is actually a little dirty. Sorry. And I will be looking at some pictures, looking at some articles, and we will decide together what we're going to say yes to and what we're going to pass on. Starting with one that got me very excited, and this is already kind of polarizing. It's the equestrian trend. This has been on my radar for a while. I've talked about equestrian elements and how they are very much in tune with a classic, more heritage aesthetic. And whenever I talk about this, people in the comments say, especially people who ride horses, say that it's weird to add those elements into day-to-day life, that it looks like you're dressing up or that you're wearing a costume. I will accept that point of view, but I will still wear my equestrian elements because I love the idea of horse bits, of riding boots, of leather patches, of tweeds, of jodhpurs, of beautiful riding blazers. I think those are just beautiful pieces that will always complement an elegant girl's wardrobe. The cool thing this season is that we've also seen a little bit of an utilitarian countryside. So here we see Tory Burch with this sort of leather accent that almost reminds me of a saddle. Here in Loro Piana, this is what I mean by the utilitarian countryside. This is absolutely something that a person would wear to garden or to do various countryside activities that I cannot name because I am a big city girl. Here for Burberry, other than a lot of utilitarian barber inspired coats, they also showed these blazers that with that red color really speak equestrian to me. Also with the riding boots. Here for Fendi, again the horse bit, the detail of the saddle-like belt I think is really cool. Ralph Lauren with the riding boots, Dior with the patches and the tartans. Anyway, I do understand if this is something that doesn't appeal to you, but to me it is a total yes. And to stay on a positive note, there is a second trend that I really love, which are tuxedo jackets. This season is very jacket, coat, outerwear heavy. Of course, it's fall winter, but there are a lot of variations and a lot of key pieces. One of them is the tuxedo jacket. The reason I love a tuxedo jacket is because it has the power not only to give you structure, because it is structured almost like a blazer, so it'll give you the straight shoulders, it'll give you a beautifully constructed jacket, but it also has that elegant, that refined connotation. The tuxedo will always be synonymous with being well dressed, and it will always add that touch of glamour to your look. And there were a lot of new interpretations of the tuxedo, be it in the form of dresses like here with Lanvin, also a little bit of a play on shoulders and on dimensions for Dolce & Gabbana. I love this one from Michael Kors. I know that Michael Kors gets a lot of flack because they do have a more affordable line that we find everywhere. However, I do think that Michael Kors collection, which is the line that actually is shown on the runway, is always just exquisite. Unlike many other brands, maybe that's because I'm more traditional, maybe that's because I am a little bit more old-fashioned, I don't see as many pieces that I would buy instantly right out the runway as I do with Michael Kors. I think him, Carolina Herrera, Oscar de la Renta are those brands that will always make you look your best. In this case, I love this piece because you do have the traditional tuxedo shape with the lapel on one side, the shoulders, the sleeves. It's nothing too crazy, but the addition of this beautiful draping on one side closed up with the belt, I think it's creative, it's different, but it is still beautiful, extremely wearable, and would just add to your look instead of looking like you're drowning into a piece. This one from Armani is also fabulous. I would 100% wear this, especially because I don't know if you can see that the lapel is a little bit more open, so with a shirt you kind of get that bigger area to show off a second piece or even your cleavage if you'd like. I think it's a beautiful piece, especially with that print that almost looks like a tie print or like a handkerchief print. Very gorgeous. Another outerwear piece that is very on trend this season is the bomber jacket. This has been in basically every designer's collection. I think it is a sort of attempt to have coverage and to have warmth without always opting for a big puffy coat. I do like a bomber jacket. I think that it is a classic piece in a wardrobe, especially for a masculine wardrobe, from what I saw on the runway, because there are a lot of iterations. You get something a little bit more oversized here like Isabel Marant has done. You have the more classic, almost kind of military here on Kenzo, kind of an aviator jacket, the puffy kind of down jacket here on Loewe, and this more deconstructed version from Versace, but my favorite would be this one from Dior. I don't love the oversize of the sleeves, and I do think that when this hits stores, it will be a little bit more adapted to a commercial public, so it'll probably have a bit of a more discreet sleeve, but I just think it's so fun how you get the more masculine silhouette of a bomber jacket, but you balance that out, one in this beautiful kind of blushy powder pink, and then with the addition of beautiful flowers. So sort of mixing those elements that are opposites in the fashion world and making it interesting. If we have to choose one trend that has permeated the whole season from basically any fashion house, it will be 90s minimalism. Within 90s minimalism, you can find an array of inspirations. I think it is that moment in time when what comes to my mind is that minimalism of Calvin Klein, of Donna Karan, of Giorgio Armani, of Joe Sander, Alaya. So those clean lines, those not too tight to the body pieces, that mix of feminine and masculine, being very gender neutral but still very chic. I think of Caroline Bessette Kennedy, I think of Gwyneth Paltrow in that era, tailoring, even maxi hemlines, which is something that is really hard to pull off, but if you're tall and slim and you put on a beautiful maxi skirt, I think that looks divine. And I do like that side of that aesthetic. This is something that I've commented in one of my videos, I don't remember which, but if you have to dress like the 90s, that is the way I would go. So here on Max Mara, we see a lot of beautiful crisp outerwear. The neutral color palette is very 90s. This is what I'm talking about when I say longer hemlines from Saint Laurent. This to me could have easily have been worn by a very stylish girl in the 90s. The layering that is done in a smart yet minimal way. Again, with Michael Kors, you see that androgyny playing a big part. And of course, every era has its pitfalls. And to me, this particular little sub-trend is the one that I would pass 100%, which is the plain white tank. I am already tired of seeing this. It's not even fall yet, and everybody has this little Prada tank top. I cannot. if you can make this cool, if you can make this beautiful, elegant, sophisticated, kudos to you. I could never have this in my wardrobe. I think it's really hard to make it elevated. I think it's hard to combine this with other pieces of my wardrobe. It would be extremely clear that it does not belong in my personal style. You will see this tank top redone by every single fast fashion retailer out there. So I would not advise going that route. However, if you wanna be with the cool kids, this is the piece to do it. Bottega Veneta, Prada, everybody who is anyone has worn this and knows that is the piece to have. But to me, it's a hard pass. And another trend that to me it's very 90s, and I think there is a picture that sums this up perfectly, which is when Brad Pitt and Gwyneth Paltrow were still dating and they were both in full-on leather. Wait, let me find it. I mean, look at that. It's like the 90s and leather had a love affair, and it was extremely torrid because people were wearing head-to-toe leather all of the time. I think that is a little bit... But I have seen a few iterations that I feel like are worthy of sharing. For instance, this one from Hermes, they, instead of making it all leather, it looks like it's just kind of inserts of leather, so you're almost creating like a pattern. This one from Johanna Ortiz is a gown made of leather, so you get the draping, the gloves in leather, which can look a little bit more feminine, more delicate, just like this one from Lanvin, which is in this orchid shade of leather. And then you have the tights and you have the feminine accessories, so kind of counterbalancing that toughness of the material. But then when we get into matrix territory, that's what I'm not convinced about. For instance, in Chloe with this huge duster coat in a full-on leather with the leather skirt and the cowboy boots. Because leather is a material that is always associated with rougher, more masculine silhouettes, I think it's hard to make it beautiful, elegant, and feminine in a total look. I guess it's a little much for me. So I would tread carefully. Another piece that I think is very symbolic of the 90s are trench coats. I remember that when I was little, every movie or every show that I watched, whenever it was raining, someone had that oversized trench coat that looked very baggy, very 90s, extremely 90s. And trench coats are making a comeback, but this season they are being a little bit revisited, a little bit more recreated in different ways. In this case, for the road, they went with the very maxi length. They kind of elongated the size of the straps around the shoulders. This one from Salvatore Ferragamo is gorgeous. I love the detailing that they managed to pull off. First, this beautiful kind of knotted, because I can see that it's kind of continuation of the hood. So you have the hood and then a sort of scarf-like detail around the neck, then the beautiful thick strap around the waist, big button. It's a little bit longer than I would be able to wear because I am very tiny, but for this model it's just perfect. I love this. This one from Proenza Schuler is exactly what I would see in 90s sitcoms whenever someone got caught in the rain. And finally from Burberry, the kings of trench coats, they actually turned it into a dress. So you can even see the detail of the sleeve coming out of the sides is extremely new. I'm not sure if this will catch on, but they made the creative effort. So regarding the trench coats, I am not sure. I don't know if I prefer the classic trench coat or if I'm willing to play around with it. If I do, it's in very minimal, very subtle ways. And then to conclude this video, I think it is always productive to not only look at the pieces and trends, but at the styling of the shows, which is where I think we can get the best ideas to not exactly follow a trend, but to see what we have already in our wardrobe and find a new way of wearing those pieces. For example, this beautiful look from Brunello Cucinelli. Here they have the more traditional blazer, but to make it a little bit more cool and in tune with the trend of the season, they add the more working bomber jacket underneath the blazer and then a polo neck shirt. So you are getting that layering of a piece that is more sartorial, more elegant, more elevated, with one that is more practical, more casual, and the final result I think is very chic. Also from Brunello Cucinelli, I love this way of tying a belt. If you have a belt that is too long, you're wearing a piece that does not have the belt loop, so you can't just tuck in the longer belt. Just by doing this knot, maybe I'll show you how to do it this time. Wait, let me get a belt. I'll do it with a thinner belt, but just to give you an idea. First, you do your belt normally. Then you will bend your belt like this. You create a loop going downward. You pass the longer part behind the belt, so you create this loop. Then you will fasten the strap within that loop. And you get yourself an intentional positioned belt that does not look like it's flopping around. I have a bunch of inspiration from Fendi as well. This one I love. I think that the trick of not buttoning all of your buttons is so great to kind of show other pieces of your look. In this case, they only button the top buttons, and it kind of created this inverted V, which shows the dress underneath. I think that is a great trick if you just want to find a new way of wearing a piece that sometimes, in the case of coats, we wear them time and time again in continuation during the whole of winter. So maybe just adding these different touches like the buttoning, scrunching up the sleeves to show the gloves, I think is a very, very nice touch. This one I also love. One, I adore the fact that the bag is made out of a knit fabric. It looks so cozy. But what I wanted to point out is the longer glove. This is something that is a huge style trick of mine, and actually I want to find myself some longer knit gloves, maybe in a beautiful wool or cashmere, because not only does it scream chic, it also is practical because you are covering your arms, and in the dead of winter, if you want to wear something that is not full length sleeve, something like this will still keep you warm. And this might seem like a silly detail, but I love the way that they're carrying their bags. A bag can look so different depending on how you decide to carry it, and I think that this way is very chic. So this looks like what would be a shoulder bag. So instead of wearing it over your shoulder, you just wear it almost like a pouch, almost like a clutch. I think it's a little bit more charming, a little bit more different. And then to close this up, I have this shot from Giambattista Valli, because I really, really like the addition of a scarf underneath an outerwear piece. The fact that it's monochromatic, so very coordinated, very crisp in this cream ivory white. But I like that you don't have to essentially add a piece underneath. You could maybe add a sort of heat protecting layer like from Uniqlo, but if you add a beautiful scarf, no one will see that ugly layer and they will only see the scarf coming out of your shirt or from your jacket or from your coat. So I think this is a great hack. This is it, everyone. These are the trends that I wanted to talk with you about. There are some others that I have seen kind of circling around, but they just don't excite me, not even to dish on. So it's just that if I know something is not gonna serve me right, it's not going to complement my wardrobe, it's just going to feel like I'm trying to be someone else, I don't even consider it. I just move on, because there is always next season. So what's the point, right? Take advantage of what works for you. What do you guys like about these trends? Are there any trends that I didn't mention and that you are completely dying to try out? Maybe you can convince me otherwise. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see each other again next time. Bye.